Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To Sezami, our group are going to present wine manufacturing for our lab case study presentation. I'm going to introduce my group members. First is Amir Faisal bin Zainal Abiddin. Second is FAKHRI NAZMI bin NORIN. Third is Muhammad HAFIZ SHAHRIZAL bin SHAHRULNIZA. Fourth is MIOR PUTRA bin MAMAT HIDAYAT, which is me. And the last one is Muhammad ARIF bin MAMAT. So without further wasting of a time, I'm going to talk about objective of our presentation. So the objective of this lab case to recognize and relate the contribution of wine management toward development of commercial wine production and corporate strategy of wine industry. So I would like to pass the mic to FAKHRI NAZMI bin NORIN to explaining the history of the wine. That's all from me. Thank you.
So thank you, MIOR Putra, for addressing me. Now, I will continue with the history of winemaking. The winemaking history started way back 6000 BC at the early Bronze Age. Wine became a part of their recorded history and played an important role in their ancient ceremonial life. The Roman Empire improved the cultivation techniques in making wine by establishing plantations, storage, and shipping wine all over Western Europe and other countries. Wine became popularized from the 15th century onwards and surpassing the devastation Phylloxera luce, which is an insect pest that devastated the grapes plant in the 1870s. Today, winemaking requires a deep scientific knowledge and good understanding known as oenology, which is the science of winemaking. There are two general categories in making wine. Firstly is the still wine production, and the second one is the sparkling wine production. The still wine production is a wine that doesn't involve any carbonation in its wine, while the sparkling wine production involves carbonation of the wine itself. The most widespread and recognized example of sparkling wine is the champagne. So I will I will pass the mic to Arif Mamad to continue with the process manufacturing process of wine.
Thank you, Ahmad Fakhri. Now, I would like to present the manufacturing process. Basically, wine is made by 5 steps. First is harvesting process. Second is crushing process. The third is fermentation process. The fourth one is clarification process. And lastly, the aging and bottling process. Now let's go through one by one. First is harvesting process. To make delicious wine, it is required the grape that contain all the esters, tannins, and acids. Also, weather plays an important role in the harvesting process. Harvesting can be done mechanically or by hand, but many estates prefer by hand because mechanical harvester can be too rough on the grape. And once grapes are picked, they are taken to the winery and sorted in bunch. The second process is crushing. In the past, in the traditional way, the crushing process is used to be done by feet. Nowadays, majority of winemaker do this crushing process mechanically. While winemaker prefer staying away from machines in the harvesting process as it affect the grape negatively, but in the crushing process, machines have made the process more sanitary and has also helped in increasing the quality and longevity of grapes. And if what one is being made, the seeds, solids, and skin are separated. It is because it is to prevent the tannins and color leaching in the wine. On the other hand, for the red wine, it is allowed to stay to get the color, the tannins, and the flavor to the wine. Next, following the crushing process is the fermentation process. Mash naturally starts fermenting within 6 to 12 hours when white yeast is added to it. What is mash? Mash is a freshly crushed fruit juice that contains skin, seeds, and stem of the fruit. Many winemakers add cultured yeast into mash to predict the final outcome and ensure consistency. This process continues until our sugar transforms into alcohol, resulting in production of dry wine. The second last step is clarification. This is the process in which the tannins, proteins, and dead yeast removed from the wine. For the process, the wine is transferred into stainless steel tanks or oak barrels. Also, substance added to result in fining process. For instance, some winemakers add white egg or other compound to help the precipitate dead yeast cell and other solid out of the wine. And then, the filtration or fining process is used to catch the large particle. And lastly, the wine transferred into other tank and prepared for aging and bottling. And let's go to the last process, which is the aging and bottling. After clarification process, the winemaker has the choice either to choose the wine to be instantly bottled or give additional aging to the wine. For aging, the wine transferred to oak barrels, stainless steel tanks, or bottles. And many winemakers prefer using oak barrels for aging because it gives a smoother and more vanilla-like color. Using barrels, it helps increasing oxygen exposure, allowing the tannins to get reduced and enabling the wine reach an optimal flavor. After of these 5 steps, the result that we get is a wine. And that's all from me for the process, and I will let the next presenter, who is HAFIZ SHAHRIZAL.
Okay, so thank you, Arif Mohammed, for the detailed explanation of how wine is produced. So, to resume our presentation, I would like to present to all of you the common problems in vinification, or also known as winemaking. So, the first problem that could occur is that the fermentation can be sluggish or it just starts. Or in other words, the fermentation is super slow. So, this problem is caused by a few factors. The first cause is that the pH is too low. The second one is that the volatile acid is too high, and the third one is that the alcohol level is also too high. Now, what are the corrective steps that could be taken in order to curb these causes? So, for the first cause, which is the too low pH, you have to de-acidify and add fresh yeast to the wine. For the second one, which is the high amounts of volatile acid, you have to reduce the volatile acids and add fresh yeast. For the third one, which is the alcohol level, which is very high, you have to implement a strong fermenting yeast to reduce the alcohol level. And do note, volatile acids are steam distillable acids present in wine, primarily acetic acids. Now, the next problem that could occur in winemaking is that the wine smells of vinegar and there is a formation of a white film. Now, there are a few causes of this problem. The first cause is that the wine has been exposed to air, causing an interaction with acetobacter organisms. The second cause is that the wine has low sulfite levels. Now, for the corrective methods of this particular problem, There aren't much as of right now, but if the smell is tolerable, you can drink the wine. But if the smell is too bad, you have no other choice but to discard the wine. Now, you might be wondering what sulfites are. Well, sulfites are a food preservative widely used in winemaking, thanks to their ability to maintain the flavor and freshness of wine. While they are found in mostly other foods and beverages, they are particularly associated with a long list of side effects related to wine consumption, including the dreaded wine-induced headache. And now, the next problem is that the wine smells of sulfur, or in other words, it smells of rotten eggs, which is simply pungent. Now, what are the causes of this problem is that there is an overuse of the sulfites that I mentioned before. The second one is that the yeasts are stressed during fermentation. Now, the corrective steps that could be taken is that the wine must be aerated by stirring or racking methods. And the next step in order to curb the causes is that you have to treat the wine with a dilute 3% hydrogen peroxide solution. And for the last common problem of that could happen in winemaking is that the wine tastes of sour milk. Now, the only cause of why the wine tastes like sour milk is that there is a lactobacillus or pediococcus bacterial infection. Now, the corrective actions that could be taken to curb this problem is that if the wine is drinkable, add sulfites and stabilize the filter. But if the wine is just too bad, you have no other choice but to discard the wine. Fun fact: lactobacillus is also known to be a good bacteria for your stomach, but in winemaking, lactobacillus can make the wine go bad. So that is all from me. Without further ado, I would like to pass the floor to Amir Faisal for the question and answer session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Hafiz. Okay, it's time for question and answer part one. Okay, for the question one, what is organic wine? Okay, this wine come from organically grown grapes and are also produced organically. That is without the addition of chemical additives such as sulfur dioxide during winemaking. Okay, what is tannin? Tannins are simply the compound in wine that makes your mouth feel dry. Tannins come from skins, stems, and seeds in grapes, which is why red wines are generally more tannic than whites. For the third question, how many grapes does it take to make a standard bottle of wine? Let's say for about 200 grapes or 2.5 pounds of grapes. Okay, next slide. For the fourth question, what colors can wine be? Okay, they could be red, it could be white, it could be also pink or rose, orange, and blue color. Okay, for the fifth question, what is the most widely planted grape in the world? The most planted grape in the world is Cabernet Sauvignon with more than 700,000 acres worldwide. And for the last question, how old is the oldest winery in the world? The oldest winery uncovered so far dates back to 4100 before Christ. It is located in Armenia. I will give Tonia for the conclusion.
Thank you, Amir Faisal. So, how can we conclude this manufacturing of wine? So, as we can see, we can conclude that wine market is growing bigger and estimated global wine market to reach 434.6 billion by 2027. Wine has been consumed from the ancient time for a lot of benefits to health and increased satisfaction for absorption of food and proper digestion until today. Because of that demand, this industry growing bigger every day. The process of manufacturing wine is same, but every wine tastes different due to different of temperature when serving, different type of grade, climate, weather, sunlight, water, warmth, and also nutrient present in the process. So there are a few different choices that we can make to ensure the profit in the manufacturing of wine, which are differentiation via sourcing choice. This is to maintain control over the cost. The selection of supply chain are very important to maintain a brand reputation, just as a great growing, winemaking, and related support activity give a huge advantage in this industry. Next, there are a few choice for the corporate to come out with a different flavor and taste of wine. Because of wine processing method, there are a lot of things and make a wine taste different, such as harvesting date, fermentation, temperature, type of tank, skin contact, and more. So that's all from my group. Thank you.